Hello and welcome to another standard video here in the post-ban standard metagame. Today we are revisiting the black-white bats archetype, which got a few nice upgrades in Final Fantasy, the main one being Dark Confidant, aka Bob, named after Bob Maher, who won the Invitational and got to make Dark Confidant with his likeness in the art. A 2-1, saying at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand, lose life equal to its mana value. So a dangerous form of card advantage, but in a deck that has a lot of life gain effects, we can usually pay for all the life we're losing. And then we also have Darkstar Augur, which is very similar, just a 2-3 flying version of Dark Confidant, and also has Offspring, so we can make an additional 1-1 version of it if we pay the 1 extra mana. So then we can draw lots of cards, lose lots of life, although the curve of the deck is relatively low, so at most we'll lose 3 life to a Dark Confidant trigger, and losing life can sometimes be an advantage when paired with Cecil Dark Knight, a 2-3 with Death Touch for just 1 mana, although when it deals damage, whether it attacks or blocks, we lose that much life. Then if our life total is less than or equal to half our starting life total, that's 10 in standard, we get to untap Cecil and transform it into this 4-4 lifelinker, which when it attacks also gives our other attacking creatures indestructible until end of turn. So a very powerful effect. Getting a 4-4 lifelinker can quickly make up for all the life loss, and it's incredibly cheap to get on the battlefield. So those are the main additions from Final Fantasy. We also have Starting Town in the mana base, for now just a one-off, but as soon as the rotation happens and we lose Caves of Koilos, this will probably become a 4-off, maybe alongside Godless Shrine, which will also be an Edge of Eternities. Caves of Koilos, another pain land that can sometimes be quite useful when paired with Essence Channeler. This 2-1 has Flying and Vigilance as long as we've lost life this turn. So between Dark Confidant, Augur, and now the pain lands as well, we can usually make the Channeler gain Flying and Vigilance when we wanted to, and then whenever we gain life we can put a +1/+1 counter on it, and when it dies we can move all of its counters elsewhere, maybe onto one of our life-linking bats like the Ruin Lurker bat, and at 2 mana we also have Deep Cavern Bat, another 1-1 flying lifelink that can also disrupt the opponent's hand, alongside our 2 copies of Duress for more hand disruption. And then we've got some cheap removal with Cut Down. Then at 2 mana we've got the full set of Strategic Betrayal. If you remember my post-ban standard video, I only had 2 copies of Strategic Betrayal in the list at the time, but I've kept running into more graveyard decks than I expected, so I've gone up to the full playset, making the opponent exile a creature they control, as well as exiling their graveyard. So it can still be a reasonable removal spell, but getting to exile their graveyard is the real payoff. And then we also have a 1-off Bitter Triumph. Again, this used to be a 2-off in the deck, so you can easily swap those numbers around based on the metagame. Can also potentially make us lose 3 life, so it can also be synergistic with Cecil or maybe with the Essence Channeler. And then at 3 mana, besides the Augur, we also have Zorlin as another payoff for having lots of bats in the deck, as we can now gain a life for each bat that's attacking. Then can also maybe pay 2 mana and 2 life to return a permanent with mana value 3 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. So that can also give us a nice bit of recursion if we face a lot of removal. Another card you could consider that I played in the deck at some point is the Lunar Convocation, which also wants us to both lose life and gain life to generate 1-1 bat tokens. Can also be an extra source of card advantage, so that's certainly worth considering as well. And then the rest of our mana base includes Concealed Courtyard, Bleachbone Verge, and some basics. So the only cards that rotate out in a month are going to be Cut Down, so that's a pretty powerful removal spell that we're going to be missing, but hopefully we get a decent replacement. And then, as I said, Caves of Koilos, but we can easily replace it with Godless Shrine and more copies of Starting Town if needed. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw. Hand is fine. Lacking some creature removal. Confidant is nice, so now I think I'm in favor of Duress. Make sure the coast is clear, and then prioritize the card advantage over the lifelink to set up Channeler. Okay, banned birds. Yeah, that could actually be a tough matchup. Bards and Boko being built-in removal, and lots of large flyers that can also get in the way of our flying creatures. Duress, as we know, is not our best draw. So we'll try Confidant, and then next turn maybe Deep Cavern Bat can take Bards and Boko. Opponent could also copy my Confidant with a Mockingbird. And goes for Quest Caller. So nothing to copy with the Mockingbird. Take 2. Find cut down, that's useful, and a land. So those were 2 good draws. So I can bat first, and then cut down the quest caller most likely. Take Bards and Boko. Mockingbird copying quest caller also would have been quite effective. So yeah, we managed to swing the game around that turn. But it's far from over. Mockingbird, X equals 1, copies Deep Cavern Bat, so can steal perhaps my Augur or Channeler, and goes for Augur. And another quest caller, that's good. Surprised they didn't just copy the quest caller while they had the chance. But our opponent's happy playing defense, find another Augur and a land. So you can Augur with Offspring, although that's starting to get a little dangerous. You can play 1 Augur plus Rune Lurker Bat to maybe set up the Channeler a bit better, although opponent can easily keep a large flyer on defense. I think I just go for Augur with Offspring and then hope to draw some removal next turn to take over. Can always chump with one of the Augurs if needed. Just hope to outdraw my opponent, maybe find a Zoralin to gain life back. Cecil would also be good to eventually make a 4/4 lifelinker. Alright, now Choco, a nice payoff for the bird deck. So we'll see if they get aggressive, but they don't have any amazing attacks. Alright, and Duo gets in there, happy to double block it. And they did find a card that they're not going to reveal. So they did not take out the Augur token when they had the chance, so they're trying to win the game with their own confidence. Another Deep Cavern Band's useful. So we have some options. Could also attack with a Deep Cavern that's in play just to gain 1 life and grow the Channelers, and then play another band afterwards. Don't know if that's the play here. I do think I attack with Dark Confidant, unless we need to block with it on the way back. Yeah, it does seem like a double Channeler plus a Rune Lurker turn. Or maybe 1 Channeler and 1 Deep Cavern. Since they kept the card, and it probably wasn't a land, or else they would have maybe put it in play. Could have still held it just to enable landfall next turn. But it's more likely to be a non-land card here. And another Duo's good to take. So then let me attack with a Confidant, since I think we'll have enough blockers on the way back. And I just kind of want to get rid of it here. Opponent might just take it. So there's a chance I die next turn. 3 triggers. If I reveal multiple 3 mana cards. Choco attacks. Once again puts card in hand. So now I could maybe chump with a 1/1 Augur, so we don't lose too much life to it. So now I'm guaranteed to survive. Another Chocobo. The Scry one from Quest Caller is also quite relevant. Alright, can we find some removal? Cecil. And a land. And a cut down. Alright, those were all excellent. So Quest Caller, probably the bigger target for cut down, although if I take out the bats, it opens up my lifelinkers to get in there, which is maybe actually worth it here. So Channeler, cut down Deep Cavern. Not really planning to play the Augur for a while. Can get in there with all of the lifelinkers. This has Vigilance and Flying. Looks okay. This is how much damage? 5. If I get in with Augur, it's 7, so then it's a 2-turn clock, but I guess we're gonna present lethal next turn with Channelers growing. So may as well play it safe. And then Cecil and pass. Confidant happy to jump, don't need to play another one. Healer's Hawk, 2-2, lifelink. I do have a Caves to damage myself if I happen to reveal multiple lanes, so we can give the Channelers flying. So Choco attacking with 3 birds, can they put some lands in play? They can, 2 landfall triggers, but we still have good blocks with the Channelers. Cecil can trade for Choco. And that'll do it. Awesome. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play with a keepable hand. 1, 2, 3 curve potentially, with a bit of removal / graveyard hate if needed. Opponent also on a black deck. Yeah, I mean, Channelers, the more intuitive follow-up. If they have a cut down, they could take care of the Deep Cavern Bat anyway. Now they can cut down the Channeler before it grows. And that's okay. So, against another deck with a bunch of removal, I might prefer Augur with Offspring as opposed to just playing it turn 3. Can keep the land. So we can curve Deep Cavern into Augur with Offspring. Flush out some more spot removal. And yeah, there's Go for the Throat. At least we get to see their hand. And it's more removal and a discard effect, but at least if they go for Deep Cavern, Betrayal can and get our creature back. And our Confidant on top seems good too. Happy to Augur with Offspring, which plays around their removal spell pretty well. Yeah, this seems like the type of matchup where I want to draw as many Dark Confidants as possible. So they can know where to run the 2-3, which I can still maybe return with Zoralin at some point. And there's the Bat, which we'll have to choose between Betrayal or Dark Confidence, both pretty decent. If they have a follow-up creature, maybe the Betrayal's not as bad. Alright, I guess double Bat will do it. Good thing we still get to draw extra cards here. And a Duress probably a bit late to the party. But it probably doesn't hurt to cast it. Yep, just 2 swamps. Get in with Ruin Lurker, since we have another one, so they still can't really attack us back. Sanctuary activates, so now they can maybe soak up another Betrayal if we draw it. There we go. So they can choose what to get rid of. I imagine it's just a Sanctuary. And then one Ruin Lurker can attack. Other one plays defense. Still want to play a Lands out for Zoralin, especially. Yeah, how long can our opponents survive us drawing 2 cards per turn? They could at any point, of course, draw their own card draw engine in the form of the Unholy Annex, which is a lot harder for me to interact with. Sheoldred's Edict gets my only token, surprised I didn't cast it earlier. Now Confidant draws us more cards. My own Bat. Can maybe attack first. If Confidant trades, I either get a Confidant back or Betrayal, which in turn gets Confidant back. And once again, Swamp in hand. Alright. Slasher's not a bad one. Although can trade for Cecil. And once again send in the lifelinkers. Maybe leaving a Deep Cavern back. Opponent's at 5. No attacks. Another Betrayal, also pretty clean answer to the Slasher. So we can start here, but yeah, we should be able to just clear their entire board pretty much. GG's. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. Hand is a little painful with triple Dark Confidant basically. But we have removal, hand disruption, bit of life gain. And Zorlin can also help out. Opponent's blue-white, maybe still on the Omniscience deck. Alright, so then... do I prioritize Deep Cavern Bat? I guess I do. And they've got double lockdown, so no point in taking one. Take the stock up. Opponent could bounce their own Archaeologist here with a Dispersal, and that's what they do. At least we can cast a 3-drop, so we don't play into the lockdown. Still no Omniscience in graveyard, but we do see the replacement for Abuela's Awakening, Repair and Recharge. So this turn, I think it's Augur, need to dig towards our Betrayal for graveyard hate, or more hand disruption. At least there's no Omniscience yet. A lockdown, get back, stock up. And yeah, no land. So can go for Zorlin, or just another Augur. Playing Deep Cavern, I guess, can take the stock up, so we slow them down in that regard. But that's just gonna get hit by the lockdown again. I think I would rather develop another threat. So they get to stock up, probably find the Omniscience. They still need a way to put it in the graveyard. And then I get a chance to maybe hit their hand again. So yeah, they've got the Dragonstorm. Discard Omniscience, I imagine. No, just a lockdown, so they haven't found Omniscience yet. And there's a Betrayal. All their opponent knows about it, so exiling their graveyard right now doesn't accomplish much. But I can Deep Cavern Bat. And then maybe play Confidant as well. Alright, opponent's got multiple counter spells. Another stock up, another Dragonstorm. Could just take Repair and Recharge, because that can also bring back Lockdown, which can then answer the bats, as well as a Dark Confidant. And then I don't need to necessarily resolve a ton more threats when we have double Augur and Confidant in play. And then they also need to find a backup Repair and Recharge to be able to combo off. Opponent casting Invasion, likely going for a sweeper here. So I need to find another discard spell to take that away. I've got 4 draw steps. And did not get there. That's rough. So next turn they can wipe the board. Anything useful I can do in the meantime? Not really. Yeah, playing Zorlin doesn't accomplish much. No point in playing another Dark Confidant, or Cecil for that matter. Yeah, that's too bad. Just attack. Play my tap land. And discard to hand size. Not gonna need these cut downs. Could also ditch Dark Confidant so I can get it back with Zorlin, although we're gonna have plenty of choice next turn. I guess one Cecil can go. So, I reset the board. At least they still don't have their Omniscience in Graveyard. So, going for Zorlin, get back Deep Cavern Bat, snipe your Repair and Recharge, looks okay. Would have liked to hit another land here so I could have added Cecil to the board. Yeah, let's go with Zorlin, and then next turn I can trigger it again to maybe grab something else useful. So once again a bunch of counter spells, Spell Pierce we don't care about. So our opponent's gonna stock up, maybe they can go land into Lockdown. And if they discard Omniscience, we still have the Betrayal to exile it. Opponent going for a Dragonstorm first. We'll see if they want to keep up Confounding Riddle. Still no Omniscience. Moment of Truth. Now Omniscience hits the graveyard. Okay, so step one, probably attack. Or I can first Betrayal so I can pay for Spell Pierce more easily. Opponent does Spell Pierce. So if I pay, I can still play Cecil. And now I don't need to worry about Ephara's Dispersal bouncing any of my creatures. So yeah, that looks good. Alright, opponent's at 2. Not sure what they can top deck here. I guess it's not impossible for them to go Dragonstorm, discard Omniscience, and repair it back. But opponent goes for stock up, 4 mana, and our opponent explodes. Awesome, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a fine hand. Got cut down on 1, turn 2, depending on the matchup, either Bat first or Confidant right away. And yeah, I don't want to mess around with the Scavengers or opponent on the red-white auras. And I think we actually go for Bat first, even though they're unlikely to remove the Confidant. And they might only have one more creature in hand that we can take. And it's gonna be the Scribe here. Okay, so opponent's got double Sheltered by Ghosts. Gotta hope to either draw removal or hope the opponent doesn't find a creature. They immediately did. Alright, so I can play Augur. Opponent might remove it. But then next turn there's a chance I can double spell 2 drops. Seems better than just taking one of 2 copies of Sheltered by Ghosts. Opponent deciding which creature to exile. Goes for the Augur. And can attack for 3. Bitter Triumph is only going to work once I find an extra land. So I guess now on Deep Cavern, check out their hand again. So they're just holding some lands. I mean, if we can keep things as they are, we'll eventually get there. But still can't feel too comfortable. They could draw their hexproof trick as well. Now Swordmaster with Offspring. Alright, so we can destroy the Scavenger while the coast is clear. Yeah, that's gotta be the play, as opposed to Augur with Offspring, which is also an option. Since we'll get an Augur back anyway. And then might be fine discarding a Dark Confidant, as opposed to paying 3 life. And then next turn I have the option of Augur with Offspring. So we've dealt with 2 copies of Sheltered by Ghosts, which is definitely the swingiest card in the matchup. Feather, draw card. And an all-out attack. Well, we don't need to worry about Monstrous Rage anymore, but they could have other pump spells. Still tempted to block. What can they have? Is Feather of Flight a card with Flash? It is. But that would still be a trade. Can't think of anything that pumps Toughness more than 1. So if we block the smaller token, they're forced to use their trick and we still trade. And then next turn I have Augur with Offspring. Yeah, there's a Shard Mage's Rescue. So that works. Cecil, potentially looking good too. But this is a bit more mana efficient and I wouldn't mind making the Offspring. Opponent passing now. And a cut down was excellent. So I guess we'll start there, see if that works. Could try and attack first, maybe our opponent does something funny. But I would like to connect with a Deep Cavern Bats, so I can also enable the Convocation. So that seems to work. And then Cecil, not too far from transforming. The Augur can maybe set it up. Fine cut down, good insurance, and a Bitter Triumph. And now Zorlin as well. Yeah, I mean, Zorlin seems worth playing, even though it might delay Cecil. So we'll gain the life before we lose the life. Pass it back, make another bat. And our opponent seems pretty dead. Alright, sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a keepable hand, I think. So we need Caves to play a Ruin Lurker on 1, facing blue-red. Not sure yet which variety. So can go for the Disruption from Deep Cavern Bat or the Pressure from Channeler next turn. Could be a VV Cauldron deck, as we see the Dragon Hunt already. Yeah, this could be a tough matchup. Don't have a ton of graveyard hate or answers to the Cauldron. So I probably have a look with a Deep Cavern Bat, which can also set up Channeler to gain life. So there's a Cauldron, they have a Thrill Seeker already as a potential finisher. Scorching Shots as removal, which they could cast. And then Eidetic Memory, also pretty good. So I'm tempted to take Cauldron, but then our opponent can just get it back by removing the bat. So taking the Scorching Shots maybe makes more sense. But yeah, long term the Cauldron's going to be a problem. Could eventually get the bat back with the Zoralin, so that's maybe also part of the equation. Potentially a reason to let them use their removal. Now a Winter Night Stories. Draw 3, discard. They're probably happy putting Thrill Seeker in the graveyard. Opponent discarding the Mako. So Channeler is reasonable, lets me keep up Cut Down. Don't expect my opponent to cast Thrill Seeker, otherwise I could maybe cut down in response to the backup ability before it turns into a 3/3. So then I would rather just play an Augur to try and find more disruption. Something to be said for keeping up cut down so we can destroy VV before it picks up a +1 counter. But they would have had to draw VV, a land, and a 1-mana spell. So Thrill Seeker with backup could immediately sacrifice to destroy the Augur. And yeah, that's what they're doing. And now Thrillseeker's conveniently in the graveyard for Cauldron. So we'll hit for 1, play another Augur, I think. Run it back. Would love to keep up Cut Down again for VV. Terza is next. Can discard and draw. And Eidetic Memory is immediately going to put 2+1 counters on it. Take 5. Find Cecil and a land. So now it might be Channeler plus Cecil, wait on Zorlin, and then next turn I can maybe get stuff back from the graveyard as well. Cecil can trade for the Light Shatter. But our opponent's got a lot of options here with the 2 Harmonize cards. They can always go after the Deep Cavern Bat, get back Scorching Shot and cast it. And then they might get more value from Terza's ability, randomly exiling a card. Okay, opponent harmonizing Dragon Hunt. Discarding Cauldron, so they might have another one in hand. Deciding what to remove. Goes for Cecil. And if I take 6, next turn there's a chance I die to Cauldron with Thrillseeker. But I'm also going to gain a bunch of life with Zorlin, so I think it's worth it to take 6 still. Reveal land so we're not losing life, and wow, strategic betrayal. Quite the betrayal for my opponent here. Yeah, that's gotta be brutal. Exile Terza and your entire graveyard. And then Zorlin to apply even more pressure. Well, that's why it's in the deck, and our opponent explodes. Awesome, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. Got the 1-2-3 curve. Well, let's see what we're up against. Forest. For now, I don't mind lowering my own life total to maybe set up the transformation. Blue-green, Glimpse, opponent's ramping. Alright. It's been a while since I've seen a ramp deck in Standard. So this is some pretty good pressure. Don't know if Cut Down's going to be particularly effective in the matchup. Summon Fenrir, we can cut down at least, but not before it finds another land. And I mentioned Deep Cavern Bat was a good draw as well. So I guess I'll start there, get maximum info before deciding how to proceed. And yeah, Voltborn Tyrants, I would rather not see him play. Channeler grows some more. Bones at 3. Can also use our caves to enable Channeler to fly next turn if needed. And our opponent scoops it up. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. I don't think we want to keep a one-lander. So we'll take a mulligan. This is a bit better. One Zorlin can go. And turn 2... can play Channeler. Opponent on maybe mono-white life gain. Alright, now I don't mind our Confidant first. Small chance our opponent has the Sheltered by Ghosts to take out my creature. If they don't, then Confidant can help us draw cards next turn. Opponent's got their own Channeler. So, get the Confidant going. And Cut Down's excellent, so now we can potentially clear both of the opponent's creatures. Yeah, I guess I'll just do that now. I'll just pay 3 life, I think. Can eventually make up for it with Zorlin. We are drawing 2 cards per turn. Alright. Pridemate already 3/3 here. Convocation and Courtyard. So I don't have a way to gain life this turn. So I probably play one of my 3-drops. Zorlin versus Augur. Zorlin could be bad if her opponent has something like Sheltered by Ghosts. Augur I could next turn play with Offspring, although then we're gonna start losing quite a bit of life. So it's a close call actually. Maybe for now it's still Augur, since I don't necessarily want to Offspring it. And then next turn if we play Zorlin we could immediately start gaining life, maybe get a token from Convocation as well. Take 4. Reveal Zorlin and Augur, ouch. 6 damage. So, yeah, I guess we play Zorlin, attack with Augur. Back up to 5. Might have to trump with a Confidant now. A land is good, and a bat. Alright, so I don't think we're getting anything back. Don't need the Dark Confidence. Although I haven't lost any life this turn for the Lunar Convocation, but that's okay, we'll just go Channeler. And then do I play another Augur? Or do I just go Rune Lurker, Convocation, even if it doesn't do anything right now? Yeah, maybe another Augur's not so bad. So we can attack. Can always decide to chump block with Augur if needed. Pridemate attacks. Could chump with a Channeler to grow one of my other flyers. How does a triple block look like? Or a double block? Since we have a backup Zorlin. And lose 2 and another 2. But we can replay another Zorlin to at least gain 2 life. And then maybe want to play the Deep Cavern Bat first. I guess now Convocation would make a token. So maybe that's still better than the Bat, although it's kind of a close call. The opponent's hand must be full of 4-drops, maybe they drew a couple ley lines. Yeah, I'll play the Bat, since just putting a 1/1 lifelinker into play is pretty decent. So double Paragon, double Exemplar of Light, so yeah, a bunch of 4-drops. Which one's more relevant? We can exile their graveyard, so the Paragon's probably not the biggest issue. Play Zorlin, attack. And yeah, hope not to get too unlucky with the Augur triggers next turn. Otherwise we could be dead. This might be Convoke, nope, Sheltered by Ghosts. Go for Deep Cavern Bat. And offer the trade. I guess an all-out attack is tricky now. Well, probably have to take the trade. Which makes it more likely that I die to the Augurs here too. Land is good. And lands, alright. And our opponent scoops it up, maybe a little bit premature here, since we definitely still could have died to our own Augurs, but I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, and we have no white mana for Ruin Lurker turn 1, but yeah, turn 1 Cecil into a couple 2-drops. Let's see what we're up against. A green deck with Lanor Elves, so maybe mono-green landfall. So definitely want a Deep Cavern Bat, maybe take something like a Hydra or a Tifa, since we don't have removal for it at the moment. Alright, never mind, it's a Roots deck. So Cash Grab may be the scariest, since it can actually find the roots right away. Although all these 1-drops can also let them surveil a bunch. But creatures we can maybe more easily interact with. So once again, Strategic Betrayal, doubling up as Graveyard Hate, is relevant in this matchup. And only a single black, so they can't double Gorehound at least. So flying creatures are not a bad way to pressure the Roots deck, since they typically don't have flying or reach to get in the way. Okay, so this turn I'm kind of liking Ruin Lurker plus Channeler to then next turn set up a big Channeler attacking in the air with Zorlin growing it. And we even have the Pain Land to enable everything. So that looks good. And then what are we hoping to draw? Cut down would be fine. Any of our Dark Confidants. Gorehound, mill the Greeter. Opponent passes back. Alright, Zorlin it is, and then I want to make sure to lose life here. So the Channeler flies and they can't jump it. Alright, so we are threatening lethal next turn. Let's see what they can come up with. Molt Tender mills another Greeter. And that'll do it. Awesome. So yeah, the flying threat's too much for the black-green Roots deck to deal with. And we get to rank up to Platinum. So yeah, Dark Confidant seems like a pretty natural inclusion in this archetype. Same with Cecil, giving you that cheap threat to apply pressure, trade off for larger ground creatures, which your flyers might struggle with, and then eventually a large lifelinker to make up for the life loss. So pretty satisfied with how this deck ended up, but it is the type of deck that might want to swap out its interaction based on the metagame. Right now I'm playing a lot of copies of Strategic Betrayal, as I kept encountering more graveyard decks on the ladder, more than I expected originally, so you might want to swap those back out for more copies of Bitter Triumph, or maybe even Get Lost if you need to deal with enchantments, so you definitely have that flexibility. Lunar Convocation, another solid pick if the metagame turns into a lot of black mid-range decks, as that can offer you another powerful card draw engine that mono-black cannot really interact with, so always be on the lookout to maybe make some changes, but the core of the deck should be pretty decent. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.